you should never stop trying to improve something. You know what I mean? So whenever it comes to, you can always do the best you can, and the best you can will never replicate the wild exactly. So as long as it could, the herp hobby continues to progress towards that, then like bigger enclosures, better lighting, and preaching that we should be keeping these animals as naturally as possible, then I feel like that's the way the herp hobby has to keep continuing to grow in terms of that stuff. Like, I'm not saying, and some people are better than others in replicating that stuff, and we obviously do the best we can. But if you live in places like Pennsylvania, where I live, then you can't necessarily replicate outside natural sun with during the winter and stuff like that. So obviously, I have to get commercial lights and stuff like that. But you should never stop trying to make it as naturalistic as possible, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that we're probably all continuing to move forward. Having the internet so easily available nowadays is kind of a blessing and a curse. There's a ton of information available, and then there's some of that is really, really good, and some forums are really, really useful, but it's also easy for people to get lousy information, and not everybody's going to necessarily know how to differentiate at first. I'm actually currently taking the husbandry and captive management edition of the master herpetologist course through the Amphibian Foundation, which is really cool. We've through like the first 3 units of the class right now. And in the introductory unit, they have a guest lecture from Mariah Healy from Reptifiles, and she's actually talking about sort of this same thing, like not necessarily the state of the hobby, but like how to go about finding quality information when you're doing your research for taking care of your animals and stuff. And it was really interesting the way that she broke down what kinds of sites and stuff are going to be most likely to show up if you use different kinds of search terms. And I have some kind of wild stories that I've heard from our customer service folks about crazy things that people have heard that they should be doing with their pets or didn't realize they should be doing with their pets, that I'm not going to share any specifics, but at least people are reaching out and asking questions, because our customer service folks are happy to help, and they do pass along animal specific questions to the curators and the keepers who do those species and stuff. And so it's nice when people are willing to ask questions and accept constructive criticism and stuff, like we try and help people out with in the Frogs and Toads group.
I tend to look at things from, like I said, from a field perspective first, especially with the native stuff, because that's for one where we pulled it from, but also at least for the animals that I have either I work with myself or that I have a lot of deep research into, um, I can at least explain it a little bit better than I can a captive White's tree frog that is used to living in captivity with a bunch of tank mates. It's a whole different scenario for frogs and toads that we catch from the wild. So yeah, I don't know. I do come off as like a little bit harsh in some cases with that, but the reason why is because I'm trying to uh, pull people or push people to the way that they actually want to um, take the best care of their animals possible.